In this episode, I'm going to give you my 8 secrets to making your training more effective.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome everyone to episode 262 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular podcast in the realm. When I flex, you flex, we all flex our motherfucking biceps. I am your host, Papa Swole, fucking Normous, and this is the Swolenormous podcast, Daily Swole 262. Thank you for listening on SoundCloud and iTunes for the podcast. Thank you for watching on YouTube and also catching me live every day at 12 noon Eastern Time at Swolenormous on Facebook. So it is Monday. It is a beautiful day. So welcome to everyone that's joining me maybe for the first time. And thank you right off the bat for sharing the broadcast. I see a lot of alerts that people are sharing this and blowing it up. So if you share this broadcast, thank you so much. And also shows everyone around you that you're interested in making sick motherfucking gains on a Monday. So that's tight. That's hot shit. That's hot fucking shit. Today's episode, if you're joining me, if this is your first Daily Swole, you're in for an absolute golden treat. So if someone shared this broadcast and you found me via a share, you need to give that person a high five in person or give them like an high five because they just hooked you up with some serious knowledge bombs today. Today's episode, the most effective methods of training. If you're hitting a plateau, if you're hitting a wall, if you need some guidance to making some progress, today is a day for you because many of you have been going to the gym for maybe at least a couple weeks. You got those resolution things going on, or you've been working out for a couple years, maybe a couple months, or you haven't even started yet. But the main issue is those plateaus, getting started, where to start, maybe how do you get to that next level? You're seeing some progress and you kind of like, fizzled out your motivation. You're not really excited to train anymore. Let's go back to the basics. And I talk about this a lot, especially in my premium membership group here on Facebook. And I talk about in my Daily Swoles and the Q&A that you need to go back to the basics. You need to go back to the basics. And I go back to the basics. And I repeatedly go back to the basics. And I get a lot of questions about what I personally do. And I have a lot of videos on YouTube. And I have full workout videos on YouTube. So whenever someone asks me, hey, what do you do for a workout? Well, go on my YouTube channel and watch my full workouts. I have a lot of them on there. And I routinely go back to the basics. And my point being, I go much more basic than a lot of you probably realize. A lot of you overcomplicate your training. You think you need to do too many fancy things. You think you need to do all these exercises you see on Instagram and in magazines. And it blows my mind how many times I see people working out in the gym doing shit that is just circus tricks. That is, wow, that makes a great Instagram video. But it's bullshit in terms of actual fitness and getting results. You know, if you want to balance on a beam and lift a kettlebell over your head and stand on top of 3 dumbbells, wow, that looks great. You might get some views, but it's risky and it's stupid. You're not getting results. Like, what is that actually accomplishing? What is that accomplishing? If you're trying to get yourself into Cirque du Soleil, then okay, then you have a goal that you're working for. That's fine. But the promotion and this mindset that fancy and all these frilly exercise and movements is actual fitness and will get people a physique that they want and get them a body that they want is ludicrous and it's absolutely 100% wrong. It won't get you the body that you want. It might get you some results, but chances are it's going to get you hurt and it's going to waste your fucking time, which is just as bad as getting hurt. You're wasting your time either way. If you're getting hurt, you're set back, and if you're doing exercise you shouldn't be doing that aren't effective, then you're wasting your time in that sense as well. So let's go back to the basics. First thing, you want to make your exercise selection more simple. You need to simplify things. Streamline your workouts. You don't need fancy exercises. Chest press, back row, dumbbell side raise, squat, deadlift, basic exercises. The foundation, the reason why a pyramid is wider at the bottom is because the foundation is solid. And there's a reason why those pyramids have been there for thousands and thousands of years, because that base is solid. So that base are your basic exercise, your squat, your lunge, your deadlift, your bench press, your back row, your pull-up, your push-up, the basic movements. The basic movements work for a reason because your body needs those, at the base, at the foundation of any other exercise. Pushing is pushing, rowing is rowing, pulling is pulling, squatting is squatting, curling is curling. It's basic. The joints do one or two movements, and as a result, it doesn't take a lot of fancy frilly exercise to hit them effectively. It's going to come down to your intensity and how you do them and what order and what volume, and we're going to get into that in a second. So you have to go hard. You might pick your basic exercise, but you have to push hard. I talk a lot about training to failure. You have to push yourself to failure. And what that means is you can't do another rep if someone had a gun to your head. You need to start pushing yourself. I always tell you that if you're a beginner, you've never really done failure workouts, you don't want to go completely to failure because that's going to get you crippled sore. You want to work up and build up to those failure sets. If you've never done a failure set before, you maybe want to do one per workout or one for that body part when you do your training. Don't start doing every single set to failure. You're going to overtrain. You're going to over damage your body. You're going to really break down those fibers too much, and you're going to cause a lot of trauma, micro trauma, and hopefully not, but possibly macro trauma that can cause an injury. So you want to build up to that gradually, but failure is the key because that's what's going to force your body into an adaptation for developing the muscle tissue further. You're not going to rep through shitty form. Failure does not give you an excuse to just throw weight around and move from point A to point B. Point A to point B is only effective if the muscle that you're trying to work is the one that's doing it from point A to point B. You need to build it up slowly. Understand? You need to build it up slowly and you need to do it properly with good form. You need to make sure your biceps are working when you're training your biceps, that your chest is working, the pectoralis major, when you're working your chest. You need to make sure that your lats and your rhomboids and your middle and lower traps are getting hit when you're doing a row, when you're doing a pull-up. You need to make sure the muscle that you're trying to hit is the one that's getting hit. It doesn't matter if you're moving this weight and you're just pulling. If you're using all biceps, if you're using, your forearm flexors too much, if you're rounding your back, if you're not hitting and you're risking your lower back integrity, you need to make sure that your body is doing what it should be doing for the muscles and the joints that it should be doing it for. And that's just a long-winded way of saying you need proper form. Don't sacrifice form for weight. It never ends up well. Trust me, it's not going to end up well for you. You're going to get hurt and or you're going to have shitty muscle development because you haven't been hitting the muscles in the way that they're supposed to in the exercises. And you're just wasting your time and going down the wrong road. You need to make sure you're doing it properly. Next part is to be crazy. You got to be a little fucking crazy. You got to go a little nutsack like Papa Swolenormous. You got to go a little crazy. And going crazy means do some supersets, do drop sets, be creative, do some extreme high rep. You need to push the boundaries. You need to go outside the box because you need to find out what works for you. Not everything that works for me will work for you, and not everything that works for you will work for me, nor the next person. So I give you a lot of advice here and a lot of ideas here on the Daily Swole, but it doesn't mean that's going to work specifically for you. You have to manipulate things a different way in order to see what works best for your body. Some body parts will react more towards high repetitions, some towards low. Some love supersets more, and you might love supersets. That's great. Maybe you should implement them more often. You might hate them. Well, maybe you should implement them more infrequently, but still use them for certain purposes. You need to find what works best for you, but don't be afraid to try new things. Understand, though, if you do any of those things repeatedly over and over again, your body might form more towards those types of adaptations. If you do a lot more supersets, you might start decreasing in overall muscle size or strength because you're doing limited rest between sets, and your rep range for your workout or for your set is getting larger, which might decrease the overall hypertrophy that you can develop on the long term. So be wary of how you train, mix it up, but keep consistent with your rep range so you can get the same adaptation, but be creative with how you add that spice and add that flavor. It's like adding a little more salt or pepper or adding a little more hot sauce to your workout. You still have the food and the foundation is the same, but you're sprinkling some different flavorings to mix it up slightly. And remember, we've talked about how you don't need as much variety, as much mixing up as you think you do, because you still have to form those adaptations to get results. You need to lift heavier. Most of you aren't lifting heavier, and that goes back into the same concept as lifting to failure. You're not lifting heavy enough, but you still want to keep it generally between 6 and 15 repetitions because those are the classic rep ranges to failure for hypertrophy, and that's developing your muscle bellies most fully, so to speak. So if you're looking towards building muscle and you're a male or a female, you need to think hypertrophy, you need to think 6 to 15 repetitions, and there could be some gray area and some, subcategories depending on the person, depending on the style of training and your experience along the way. Pay attention to your body. Next part is paying attention to your body. Some muscles respond better to high rep and lower weight, and some respond better to heavy weight and lower repetitions. Most muscles will respond well to a combination of both. Just remember, your body will adapt to whatever style of training you put it under the most frequently. So if you do more lighter weight and higher repetitions, your body will respond and develop more and adapt more to that. And if you go heavier with weight and lower in repetitions, your body will, over the long term, adapt more to that. So you're going maybe more towards maximum strength style training with the lower rep ranges to failure, and you're going more towards muscle endurance, maybe a leaner physique or a less muscular physique if you're going lighter weight and higher repetition. So know what you want, know what you're going for, and understand that the more frequently you train in any one of those realms is going to give you the result that hopefully you want, but be aware that it could be something that you don't want. So you don't want to overdo one or the other. Think about what you want, think about your goal, and think about really what you're training for, and then adjust appropriately. I talked about this in my first episode of the Daily Swole. Stop counting your reps. You need to become more aware of your body and what your body can handle and push your body to that limit. When you count, you set yourself a ceiling. That doesn't mean that you don't know that you're doing low reps or you don't know that you're doing high reps. Most of you could not count, lift some weight, and know that was really heavy, I did a few. Or be like, wow, that was really light, I did a lot. The more you work out, the better you'll get at not counting reps and just pushing and focusing. You would be shocked at how much your body gets distracted by going 1, 2. I even hear people counting out loud. What the fuck? You can't count in your head? I hate that when people count while they're lifting themselves. That is the most fucked up, stupid shit I have ever seen. 1, 2, 3. Really? Sesame Street? You got to count out loud to yourself? Keep it in your brain, but it just shows how distracted you can be. First off, you're fucking up your breathing pattern if you're counting out loud. And also, you're thinking about counting repetitions rather than pushing as hard as you fucking can. Your brain controls your muscle tissue. Your brain controls the motor neurons that are lifting these weights that are triggering the muscle tissue. Your brain controls that. If you're splitting up your brain for doing something as remedial as counting, it's going to affect your muscle output. I guarantee it. Don't waste resources counting. Okay, you're finished with that in 4th and 5th grade. You don't, or 4th and 5th grade, maybe kindergarten or 1st grade. Depends on how often you got held back, which might be frequently if you're counting out loud when you're repping. Don't count out loud. Don't count in your head. Start to, get the idea and the concept of what a low rep set feels like and what a high rep set feels like, and then push as hard as you fucking can. Get off that counting and don't do it out loud. It's not becoming. Lastly, you need to give yourself enough rest between exercises and between workouts. Don't overdo it. Don't overtrain. Give yourself a little bit more time. It's better to rest more than to rest too little. Don't do the same body part any faster or more frequently than like 4 or 5 days, especially if you're segmenting. If you're doing total body workouts, you might be able to get away with 48 hours or 72. But just be aware the more volume that those body parts get, the more rest time you need. Better more rest than less rest. And of course, if you're doing your yoga like you should be, you're going to be able to manipulate those rest times because you're manipulating and you're lengthening the tissue and you're inhibiting in between the workouts. One more thing before I go. Implement things like negatives, implement things like isometrics, implement things like limited range of motion, pulse reps. Again, it goes back to the repetitions. If you're doing a lot of negatives, you're doing a lot of pulse reps, you can either overload the joint and overload the muscles and the tendons too much, or teach it too much that partial repetitions and partial reps and partial range of motion is better. Make sure you use all these tools and tricks sparingly. Understand that the more frequently you do anything, your body is going to adapt to that. So don't give it enough chance to adapt to limited range of motion. That's why the yoga is so effective, because it teaches your body how to repair the muscle tissue, how to relay the fibers. Just remember that your body will adapt, adjust, and push. These are the basics. It's basic. It's not complicated. Your body doesn't need all these fancy exercises. Your body needs to be put under duress, it needs to be pushed, and it needs to do it consistently. So it's discipline and it's dedication and consistency. You got to do it over and over again. You have to be patient. Just put the effort into the simple shit first. Forget about supplements. Focus on whole food. Focus on your training, the basic lifts, and push yourself harder. If you're not getting the results with the basic lifts, you're not going to get results with the fancy shit. I'm telling you. So, those of you that are in my Swolenormous premium group, my private membership group here on Facebook, remember we have a 1 p.m. accountability meeting. If you're not a part of my Swolenormous premium group, I absolutely highly recommend it. We do program design, we do nutritional talks, we break down all these episodes of the Daily Swole. And those of you that are watching that need that fit family type of thing, community, a great family that will help encourage you, that will help keep you accountable to your goals. So if you're making a big change here in 2017 and you're trying some of these new concepts that we're talking about here on the Daily Swole, I encourage you to join up to Swolenormous Premium. You can sign up on my Facebook page, click the sign up button, which will take you to my website, swolenormous.com, where you can sign up today. It's only $4.99, less than one of those shitty Starbucks lattes. You don't need it. For the entire month, you get access to private broadcasts. You get access to private Q&A sessions, accountability meetings. Like I said, program design, and that tight-knit family so you don't fall off the wagon. So make a difference in 2017 and check out Swolenormous Premium today. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 262 of The Daily Swole, live on Facebook every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, watching on YouTube where I have over 700 videos, exercise videos, vlogs, all sorts of shit. And every episode of The Daily Swole is able to be watched on YouTube. And you can also listen on SoundCloud and iTunes, every single episode in podcast form. And of course, Instagram, Snapchat, all the sick fucking gains. Thanks for joining me here on Monday Premium. I'll see you at 1 p.m. Thank you for joining me for the most muscular motherfucking podcast in the realm. When I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. Thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow for episode 263. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Let's kick some fucking ass and get this shit off on the right foot. Peace in the middle. Swole.